Hello, everybody. Thank you for making the time. First of all, I'm really grateful for you all to make the time to, attend this. I think this is a topic which is close to a lot of people's heart. I think reporting and analytics is become a big buzzword these days. So, in this session, I'm going to be walking people through what Power BI can do for you. Uh, Sorry, I am going to put everybody on mute, but if you have any questions, everybody has the option to unmute yourself and basically ask questions. And I don't, yes, there is a 5 minutes at the end I have kept for you to ask questions, but as we go along, if you need to ask questions, if I'm raising a point and you want clarification, please do stop me and ask, unmute yourself and ask the question. Very happy to answer as we go along. Okay, so I will earnestly urge everybody to make this as much an interactive session as you can. That would be my best recommendation because that is the way you will benefit the most out of this session, and I will benefit the most out of this session as well because I will get basically finance leaders like yourself, the thought process that you have around technology and the conversations that you would like to hear more about. So my future webinars and my future workshops, I can then cater much more around that. So absolutely, please make it as interactive as we can. Okay, so without further ado, let's start. Basically, introduction to Power BI for financial analysis. Uh, Basically, who is this webinar for? Most of the people on this call at the minute are all finance professionals. So it is for finance professionals, for business owners or entrepreneurs as well, who are looking to keep a track of how the business is performing. If you're a manager or any sort of decision maker in finance or outside finance as well, because database decision making is the right way to go about it. So this kind of helps you think from that perspective. It is for data analysts, business analysts as well, people who basically anybody who works with data. And then above all, basically it is for people anybody who is interested in financial analysis. Obviously, the title suggests that itself, right? What is the agenda for today? There is familiarization of the Power BI interfaces. I will obviously not be doing the modeling because we just have 35 minutes for the demo, but I will show you what the data modeling and transformations and data acquisition looks like. I will answer some of the questions which have already been asked even well before we got to the webinar today. We'll share some interactive dashboards and how, what's the thought process behind them, how visual data representation, interactive dashboards all help in financial performance, basically analysis. So we'll cover these three topics together using dashboards. So this more is much more on the back end of Power BI, and this three is basically much more on the front end of Power BI. Okay, we have a busy agenda, so I will now push on. Uh, just for everybody who's joined in last like couple of minutes, I have put everybody on mute, but if you have any questions, please unmute yourself and ask. I would like this to be as much interactive as possible. And even after this session, right? Most of you have connected with me with LinkedIn and at LinkedIn and stuff like that. So ask me questions after as well on LinkedIn. They just said this, but I want clarification in my particular business case. What about this? We can have that chat. I am very passionate about this topic. So why should I care about Power BI in finance? This is a topic which we need to understand because many a times I get asked of Tejas, but I have Excel. Why do I care? Right? Mostly, and everybody does have Excel. I'm not going to argue with the fact that yes, people have Excel. But think of it this way, right? Almost 70+% time is still being spent in data acquisition, organization, cleansing, and stuff like that. It's just not sustainable. And given the inflationary pressures in the market today, and obviously uh, the challenging environment that we all are living in, everything that you can save or make more efficient is always adding value to your bottom line. Okay, financial reporting can be basically actually a part of it can even be automated and self-service, which basically brings your finance resource back into finance to be much better business partners or do better value add activities as opposed to playing in Excel essentially. So you can automate and basically make it self-service. A recent survey by Grow CFO also pointed out that only processes are not documented. Again, one of the clients I have worked with, right, the invoicing process was not documented at all, and therefore when the two invoicing people left, everybody like, what the hell were you doing? How is this working? Nobody knows. That is not a good position to be in, right? There is no audit of the process and there is no control mechanisms around it. It is really stuff to think about, right? If you automate it, if you document it, and if you basically put it into a process like Power BI, you've got space where you can then go back and check the steps and things like that. Okay. Most 68%
Yeah.
finance professionals are now
Hang on, I'm just
basically
listening to something.
professionals are now basically saying that they need basically real-time data. Again, I was talking to a CFO like literally last week, and she was saying that if by the time I download the data from my basically ERP and my CRM, and then I clean it, align it, clean the customer names, and I model out a forecast of some sort, it's already 2-3 weeks. By the time she gets there, she's like, my data is old. It's irrelevant because she's in a retail environment. The data is moving just so quickly. So, it's things like that. You need to work with close to real time or real time data as much as possible. Okay. Finance teams struggle with basically multiple sources. Today, data is king. You are getting data from everywhere, right? From all over, from different systems, from ERP systems, HRM systems, and a whole lot of different places. So, and plus errors is also another thing, right? I have again looked at a couple of clients where we have seen that formulas are just not dragged across correctly. So 6 months average or 3 months average, but that average is not correct because that formula is not dragged across correctly in Excel. So again, one could argue that, but that's a human error. Yes, but why do we let the human error happen? Because the human is interacting, therefore the error is happening. If you can automate it, there is no human. It is either always going to be right or always going to be wrong, one way or the other. And once you fix it, it is never going to be broken. So that's the way to think about it. So hence, I am very passionate about Power BI. I think there are a few people on here who have spoken to me. Obviously, there is Paul here. I am going to call you out, Paul. I know you don't like it, but I am going to call you out. Paul is here. I mean, he knows how passionate I get about Power BI. I think it is one of the best tools come from Microsoft after basically, Excel. So maybe Power BI can be the start of that automation journey within finance. I'm not saying it's the end of it, but it can be the first steps where you start working with it. Okay. Why can I talk about this? Because I am an MBA, I am a chartered, I have done FP&A roles at very senior level in multiple MNCs. I am a professional consultant, but at the same time, I have done my Power BI exams with Microsoft as well. So I'm a certified, basically Power BI expert. At the same time, I am a plan modeler as well. So yes, I come from a hardcore. I still identify myself as basically a finance professional first, but yes, I love technology as well, and I have taken the effort to not only implement technology but get certified, and get the all-round knowledge around it. This is just a very quick update of my experience where I have done basically, a lot of budget improvisation, basically build analytical tools at GE Healthcare, build dashboards at Vodafone and things like that. This was my permanent job, experience, if I may call it that. I post which from 2018 onwards, Akshar Business Consulting has been going on where we have worked with clients and we've basically helped businesses achieve a whole lot of different things, mostly around basically Power BI and Anaplan and basically redesigning of their forecasting process at Unilever and things like that. So that's the kind of stuff that we have been involved in, and that experience as well as the qualification gives us, we feel, the authority to actually have this conversation with senior finance leaders such as yourselves. Okay. Uh, so what is Microsoft Power BI? It is basically a cloud-based app which helps organizations bring your data together and then manage it basically and manipulate it, analyze it in a very, very user-friendly manner. Okay. And one thing which I personally love about Power BI is the fact that every month they are coming up with new development, new things in the basically tool. What does that do for you? That just means AI, for example, is like already some amount is already there and more is coming. So it keeps basically, it keeps you updated with the product development is up to date with real life, where life is going. And therefore, you don't have to keep adding more tools to your basically repertoire as you go along, because this one tool for last 7+ years have been, recognized by Gartner as the leader in Power BI by a long shot. Okay, it is reduced basically analytical effort. It has reduced basic uplift operating income for by a proven in a research done by Forrester. Can you imagine it has increased your operating margin? That I think was phenomenal. If you want a copy of the case study, I've got the case study, a copy of the case study as well. And then it enables basically your connected reporting, reduced reconciliations, because again, like most of you will have the same issues, right? Your different customer names in a CRM versus a ERP. And your invoicing system will have another customer name. So somewhere it is LTD, somewhere it is limited, somewhere it is LTD dot. I mean, all those nuances that you have, or different hierarchies of basically account classification. Because if you are a global business, then okay, my Australia team classifies these accounts differently to my America team, to my UK team. I mean, it's just a nightmare to sit over all of this and then try to reconcile this on an ongoing basis. What this helps you do is bring it all together and essentially basically automate it for you not to have to do the hard work. Okay. Why do we need Power BI? We need it because it has got huge volumes of data. Okay. On an average, the clients that I have worked with, they have made more than 2 million lines. Okay. I'm working with Xerox at the minute. They are basically Power BI model has got more than 8 million lines. And Power BI is not using more than 10% of its capacity. Power BI can be a single model can be 2 GB. This they are using hardly anything out of it. 200 MB is that. Okay, takes that less than like 90 seconds to refresh. So that is the capability. Can you imagine putting 7 or 8 million lines in Excel, right? You'd need like what, 10 Excel books, maybe more, 20 Excel books. It's just crazy the amount of data that it can deal with. Okay, it is interactive, which we will talk about today. Okay, exceptional integration with Excel. I'm going to cover this in a lot more detail in my next webinar in October. We'll come back to that at the end of this basically workshop. It works with big data. It works with Azure, AWS, all your big Snowflake, all your big data basically warehouses or data lakes. It works with all of them. And therefore helps turn all your data or insights even that you have into action, because the right people have the right KPIs in front of them for them to make actually close to real-time decisions. Okay, you can have real-time or close to real-time data streaming on Power BI, and that I think is a big game changer because it helps you with month end as well. Okay, and that is very, very critical, because imagine you're in your month end cycle and then, okay, what does my books look like? What does my final results look like? Can I do my consolidation process? Can I lock my Microsoft Dynamics or my ERP up? Or do I need to do more accruals, my prepayments? Are all of them correct? Right? All those things you can do close to real time. And therefore it actually saves people month-end time by at least 2 to 3 days. At least the clients where I have gone in, I have seen that it has helped them at least by 2 days in month-end. Okay, minimum. That is the power of Power BI. And it is not even a consolidation tool. It is not a month-end cycle tool. It's not. But just by increasing the visibility, it basically just helps make decisions faster. That's what it does. Okay. This is basically now, I know, a fairly complicated diagram, but bear with me. This basically shows how Power BI works in a enterprise level implementation. Obviously, when you go into a simpler organization, smaller organization, it can be a lot simpler. So I will break this up into a very simple 3-part sections for you to understand. Okay. So first we look at what is the output you want. What are the reports you want? What are the performance management metrics you want? What are the KPIs you want? What are the drivers for analytics that you need? Okay. And that you can have in Excel, in a Power BI desktop, in basically Power Apps and on Power BI services, which is basically online on your laptop. Okay, so now if you take a step back, you can interact with your data on your phone, on your iPad, as well as your laptop. Okay, in Excel as well as in Power BI. So there is literally a lot of options out there, and therefore to identify what the final product requirement is important so that you can choose where to display what. That is a key element of it. Okay, once I know what my output should look like, okay, where are my drivers for that? Are they in my ERP? Are they in my CRM, right? Are they in my HRM or my headcount tool? Are they in Excel? Are they in my Anaplan? Are they in my planning tool? Okay, all your planning tools, Anaplan, Venner Solutions, Profix, you take basically what else? I've been talking to BizView recently. So BizView, you talk to any, right? Any planning tool, all of them work with Power BI. Everything comes back into Power BI as well. So where is my data? So depending on what KPIs I want, I look at where my data is and I start to bring that in. Okay. And then in the middle is where the magic happens, where you have queries, you get the data, you transform them into reports. Okay. Then you publish them into a Power BI services. So these are the two elements we'll be looking at today, Power BI desktop and Power BI services. In desktop, you basically get the data, you manipulate or model the data, and then in reports, you basically visualize them. So that is what you do in desktop. We will be looking at that. And then in services, basically, we publish it and you share it with other people in across your business. Okay. When you do the work in desktop, you can individually definitely analyze your data. When you publish it in services, you can share across business depending on the right licensing that you have. If you want to know more about licensing, again, in my next webinar, I will be covering that a lot more in detail about that. And at the same time, I got a comment literally day before yesterday where somebody was mentioning to me, yeah, but like Power BI can be done by anybody at home. Yes, it can, but if you don't implement it correctly at the enterprise level, you will not benefit correctly across the enterprise. So Cinemedia is one of my clients which I have worked with in the past, and I'm sure they won't mind me quoting them. They implemented Power BI 1 year before hiring us. 1 year. Okay, 1 year they had Power BI. They were barely using it. 3 people were using it. Okay. We went in, we basically scrapped the entire model and we started from scratch. We took the requirement, we did what we do, requirements, documentation, implementation, testing, everything else. Literally, their month-end cycles changed. Their basically review cycles across the world changed. Their board deck was produced in less than 30 seconds. Lot more time for insights, lot more board conversations were a whole different level, and analytics were at a whole different level. Okay. So yes, for practice, for learning, you can do it by yourself 100%. And I would encourage everybody on this call and even listening to the recording to try it on your own, download the Power BI desktop and try stuff on your own. But when it comes to an enterprise level implementation, I would say work with a professional, because then they will help you maximize the utilization and acceptance across the business. That is also an important element. UAT, user acceptance, happens much better. So that's something to also think about. Sorry, Paul, this is you. So you're going to pop up. This is a case study I've talked about before. 7+ days for boot deck, much more of lots of data on it. Manual formula, which, as I said, one of the formula was not updated correctly, just not dragged across correctly. Stuff like that, therefore prone to errors, unclear rules and responsibilities. Okay, the task was to automate as much as possible, bring better analytics, better commentary, create KPIs, create a connected picture for what the CI, what the pipeline looks like versus what the actuals are, and what my next month looks like, what my 6 months look like. So that was the ask. Okay, we'll come back to this case study after the demo. So obviously this is a workshop. This is not just basically a webinar, and therefore I will be doing stuff, showing you stuff in live environment. This is what is called Power BI Desktop. Anybody can download this on your work laptop. using a work email address. Hotmail, Gmail doesn't work. You need a work email address. So using a work email address, literally anybody can go and download it. Once you download it, okay, first thing what is how do you bring your data into this environment? Okay, so you go and literally there is a tab there on top called Get Data. Okay, if you click on More, it takes a minute. Yes, it gives you all the data sets you can get from all the different data sources. Some key ones which I would like to highlight. For example, SAP is there, Oracle is there. Obviously, Azure is there. It's a Power BI product, so it's definitely there, right? It's a Microsoft product, so all your Azure variety is there. Your Dynamics is there. All your Dynamics, even Business Central or just stuff like that is there. Okay, so there are literally tons, I think 177 or something official connectors. But what people miss is the fact that this connects to, for example, SQL. Okay, so you have a SQL server. Most businesses will have some sort of a data warehouse, some sort of basically cloud space in Azure, AWS, SQL, something of that sort. So if you put your data in that cloud space or a SQL server, from there, you can bring it on here. Okay. So I had a question and in a different conversation on LinkedIn and on WhatsApp as well. You can bring in Zero. You can bring in QuickBooks. Okay. You can bring in HubSpot. You can bring in Salesforce. Salesforce has got even a direct connector. Okay. If I remember, yes, Salesforce has got a direct connector as well. So you can pretty much, even if you have a legacy system, say just our accounting or ERP system is 20 years old and we have never updated it, it's still there, fine. You know what? You can then bring your data from there into a SQL server tables and then bring it into Power BI. Okay, there is no like I can't do this because I have a legacy system. There is literally no is not an option almost I could say. So one of the things I always like to talk about, yeah, and I am going to move out of Power BI if it lets me get out. Does it let me get out? Let's see if it does. Cancel this, minimize that. There is my presentation. There is my presentation. Let's go back to that. Okay, one thing which I always like to raise to every finance leader thinking about basically future is think about your overall data flow. And I have verified this one with a lot of clients and a lot of basically even technology providers. They have all recommended that this basically structure, which I am now recommending to you, is the right way. So CRM, your ERP, your HRM, best practice would be to put them in a data lake, whether it is Azure, AWS, SQL, or any other cloud space that you like. Okay, put it there, put your data there, okay, and then bring it into Power BI and any CPM, EPM solution if you're looking to implement one, okay, which will help you with month-end reporting, performance, all of this stuff. Why do you do it like this? Okay, your ERP today, if you are on QuickBooks or you are on Zero, okay, you grow in 2 years or 1 year and you then go and implement Navision. Then you go into say Business Central. Then you want to go into SAP. Your data is lost. Okay, how many times does those transfers you start losing data? You don't want to lose that data. So by putting it in a data lake, if I change my ERP, I take my Dynamics out, I put Navision. I put take the Navision out, put Dynamics, put anything else. My CRM changes from HubSpot to Salesforce. Don't care. My data is secured there, and I will never lose the history. That is a key piece of how you should think about your data flow. So yes, while I like to talk about the fact that Power BI has got multiple sources from where you can get data, and you can get even more by combining it to a server, I would say combine it with a server. That's the best practice for you to have security of your data over a period of time. Okay. From an interface perspective, the first thing which I want to talk about in a Power BI desktop is the left-hand side, these three small buttons. Okay, this is where you should begin your journey. First is the reporting view where you can make reports. But respectfully, I don't think this is where basically the magic happens. The magic happens basically in the other two tabs. This is a table view where you can see all the tables or data tables that I have. Okay. This is like your sheets in your Excel. Think of it that way. That this is my each Excel tab. Okay. This is my each Excel column. If that kind of makes sense to you. So this is where your data is stored. Every time I get data, I go and get data, it comes here. Okay. This is where the modeling happens. If I can get the modeling, yes, modeling. This is where the model happens. The modeling is basically critical. What this is called a star schema, but let's not get technical about it. Essentially, this is where the modeling happens. You see all these lines coming from these table into this one table. You see all the arrows are pointing towards that one table only. Okay, let me make this one. Yeah, arrow. You see this? So this, the way to, again, all of the people here, I'm assuming love Excel, right? And everybody has used VLOOKUP or SUMIF previously. You have a reference table at the back, a tab with reference tables at the back, and then you have your data, and then you bring in your VLOOKUP this, and get me the name of the product, get me the name of the customer, get me the name of this. Okay. All those things, these dim tables that I have are all my reference tables. That's my data set. And this line that is there is basically my VLOOKUP in the simplest form of explanation. It's a bit more than that, but for this introduction, that's what it is. So what does that mean? So if I take this, for example, right, it is taking the organization key in my data and it is combined with the organization key there. And then if I go to my organization table, you can see that the key is telling me that this is Northwest division, it is US operations, and it is always going to be in USD, and the exchange rate is this. Okay, for example. So this is my reference table at the back. When I am doing my front reporting, I can use any of these dimensions on my main data over here, on my financial data, because I have made this relationship. Okay, this is again doing the same thing. This is your account key. So this is your account GL accounts. Okay, does exactly the same job. Where is the account key? Yeah. So you got your GL accounts. It has got accounts. It's got classification of revenue or expenditure. You can have balance sheet as well. We have just kept this simple for this example. It has got subheaders around it. It tells me it's plus or minus signage. All those things standard. Again, lots of businesses I go into is revenue plus or minus, is cost plus or minus, and people are always confused. What's what? This just standardizes it. No, no room for negotiation or conversation. This is what it is going to be. Okay. And then this, so that is the introduction to basically your these three buttons. Okay. And then you should look at basically the ones on the top. You have got your home page. Insert is exactly what it sounds like. There is space how you can insert buttons, you can insert graphs, insert images, your charts, whatever else. Modeling is again where I can add new tables if I want to and make relationships. So if I do the, then I have to go here and I have to manage relationships if I want to. And it'll open for me a relationship box. It's telling me where the relationships are. Okay. Yeah, don't worry. And then view is where you can, again, it gives you standard themes as well for across your business, which means you can have a business theme. All your Power BI dashboards can look and feel the same. Okay. Most businesses either create their own themes, and if they've not created their own themes, basically you can create Power BI themes. There are lots of websites which help you create Power BI themes. If you put your brand logo colors, it lets you create your own theme. Okay. Optimize is much more about basically making a Power BI dashboard efficient. Okay. One thing I did promise in the agenda is I'm going to talk about transformations. So I will talk about transformations. You see, I've got an option here of transform data. Before I go to this, let me tell you one more thing. Here as well, I can add columns. So you see, I can have an option of add column. So I could literally click here, it will add a column. Okay. Come on, come on. Yeah, that is why I don't want to do this live as much as possible because it's a bit slow. Sign. N2 is equal to, okay? If so I can literally do exactly what you do in Excel. Okay, that is why another thing why I like basically Power BI. If and you see this logic test, result if true, result is false, exactly as you have it in Excel. So I could very well put if sign. So I'm saying that basically in my accounts table, if the sign is equal to 1, then 0 else 1. For example, I'm just going to make this up. Okay, and you see it will see. So when it is 1, it is 0. When it is -1, it is 1. So you can do data transformations like this permanently in your Power BI model as well if you chose to. Okay. Don't need this, so I'm going to delete it for the minute. But so you can do data transformation or data manipulation in this interface as well. The other interface where you can do data transformations is basically go here and do data transform data. When you do that, it opens a whole new window, and most people who are up to date with basically Excel will see that there is Power Query. And this is where essentially all the data is basically manipulated. Okay, the source has changed. I've moved the files. That's the problem. Anyway, so this is where the data transformations happen essentially, where you can add columns, remove columns. Okay, you can basically filter columns. Oh, this is going to be a nightmare, isn't it? Okay, I'm going to make it a new source. You know what? Get a not a CSV. I'm going to get a CSV data. Cancel. Get data from a CSV. I've got ABCL here somewhere. ABCL is there. I've got demo data. I've got finance reporting in simple income statement, reference tables. Come on, all files. What's in there? Okay, let's take this one then and see if it likes it. So you can literally go in and pick up a file like that. Calculating connection. Yes, go right ahead. Yeah. So you see, it's showing me all these basically tables are in that Excel book. All these tabs are there. When I click on any one tab, it shows me what's inside the tab as well. Okay. I think header is another one, which is nice. Yes, there we go. Organization. Again, I can bring all of them together if I choose to, or I can bring them one by one. It's entirely up to me. Okay. Dim dates, department, header is header, GL accounts. Yeah, GL, let's just use it. Yeah. There we go. Org is there, scenario is there. Okay. So if I select all of them together, literally Power BI will go there and bring in the data. Okay, now I could use this to model it. I could basically, it's now what is the problem? There we go. That's what I was thinking. What is this problem, man? Should work. There we go. There we go. It starts to now like it. And even here, basically, there are a whole bunch of options on the top. I can write from change the format. So you see department key has been allocated as a number format. Department has been allocated as a text format. I can make it into any format that I choose. Okay. I can keep rows. I can remove rows. I can choose columns. I can add, where is the add column gone? Yeah. So I can add and remove columns. I can do add column. I can put in a whole formula for stuff of if it is this cost center and that GL account, then it is below the line. If it is this cost center and that GL account, it is above the line, but it goes into depreciation, whatever. I can put in a whole bunch of rules that I choose to put in over here from this perspective. So this is where your most of your transformations happen. The way again I would like you to think about this is like every month end when you're preparing your report, you download your ERP data. What are all the VLOOKUPs you're putting in? What are all the filtering that you are doing? Okay, what are all the adjustments you're doing? All of that can be automated here. And then when I publish it to the cloud, that means it will go and fetch the data on its own. and do all those transformations on its own. So manually, where I am spending half a day or a day basically just cleaning my data, I don't have to do that anymore. It's all done. Done in 2 minutes, done in 30 seconds. I'm just consuming the output out of it. Does that kind of make sense? Anybody has questions so far of what I'm talking about? Good. I get a thumbs up from Simon. That means I'm making sense, which is generally very helpful. Because I'm sorry, I'm very, very passionate about this. Once I start talking about Power BI and all these things, I get very carried away with it. So, so this is the level of automation that it brings, which means that it saves you time during your month-end process or your reporting cycle, and you've got then a whole lot of more time to actually go and do value-add activities. Okay, if this is then built correctly, I'm not going to publish all this. I'm just going to cancel this for the minute. I'm not going to apply. So if that is done correctly, then the next important part is the modeling, where your model discard changes. Where your modeling needs to be done correctly. Okay. Otherwise, your relationships are not built correctly, your referencing is not correct, and therefore your analytics will not work correctly. We then spoke about basically making sure that we are able to analyze stuff. So if I go to my PNL, for example, okay. So if I go to my PNL, I can have a number for the month. So this is June. This is just 2.5 million number for the month for June 2007. Okay. But yes, I want a quarterly number. Okay. That's your quarterly number. I want basically YTD number. There you go. YTD number. Okay. It's a matter of seconds conversation rather than basically let me come back to you tomorrow conversation. Okay, and you can get waterfalls or whatever other charts. There are a whole bunch of charts over here which you can use. And what people do tend to forget is you can also get more visuals. It is like your app store. So you can go to the app store and basically get free visuals as well as paid visuals from there, as many as you want. So these are some of the standard ones which we have used, which are all free. Okay, then you can have a button here which takes you to basically say operating expense tab. One of the other things which you can do for analysis in Power BI, which a lot of people are not always aware of, is basically the fact of cross-filtering. So for example, R&D has got 2.7 million of cost, corporate has got 3 million of cost. Corporate is paying 3 million. What is that department doing? Okay, I click on it. I have 3 million. Now I know my 3 million by basically expense type. Okay, plus I know that the Canadian division has got 600,000, Northeast has got 700,000. So now I want to understand what 3 million, if 700 is there, what is the Northeast division doing? Can you see 708.9, 708.9? Now I know where is the corporate expense for Northeast division by expense type. I could do it differently as well. Okay, I could go, I don't know, take rent. Okay, so rent is 75,000. We know which department is spending, which areas are spending. I could take filter on this one and then see which exact division is spending that money. You can do it how you like it. I'm just holding control key on my keyboard. Okay, so this is what I mean by basically this is literally, to me at least, as a finance and FP&A person from my past, I think this is gold, because then I can do interactive thinking like this while I am basically talking to somebody, doing business partnering, adding value to the decision making process. This ability to be able to do analytics like this is what changes. Again, this is what was the number June last year, for example, right? Typical question I'm sure you get. There you go. That's the number June last year. It's like not that I have to come back to you. That whole conversation is gone. And then I have to do the same analysis for rent, for I don't know, corporate, there you go. In a matter of seconds. I've just got 3 years here for an example. You could have 5 years here, you could have 1 year here, you could have actuals. I've got actuals and budget and variance in there, which clearly shows you can have budget as well as a comparator if you want. Okay. Does this all make sense? do you see, do you think as a finance person, this would help if you had dashboard like this specifically for financial numbers, combining this with, again, your CRM numbers or your HRM numbers for you to have value add activity? Okay. That's the message today, essentially. Okay. If you wanted to add a visual, for example, it is not very difficult. You could just take a bar. Not this one. I'm going to change my bar. Yeah, to add a visual is very straightforward. You add it here, and then you get basically all your fields on the right hand side. You just data and format. Okay. So then you can start seeing that, okay, this is where my data is. I can start adding headers in there in terms of, say, header to the x-axis. How do you add the global map? That's a good question. There's a global map there, but then for that, or basically field map there. So there is a maps option there. On your waterfall, you are able to do waterfall of actuals to budget. Yes, you are able to do actuals to budget. What have I done? This is actuals to budget revenue. This is a budget to actual revenue. And yes, the global maps work like this. There you go. And again, see, now again, recently I was talking to a client. They said, like, by error, we had made actuals to budget. So we made it like this, right? We put actuals in the front and budget after. They corrected us. They said, Tejas, we don't want it like this. We want budget in the front, actuals later. Okay. I didn't do anything. I just moved it and saved it and published it. Took me 30 seconds. Right? That's the point. That's the power of these things, right? It just makes your life a lot more easier. Okay. Once you do make something that you like, you make buttons like this, you make slicers, you make graphs, something that you like, you then can publish it to basically your cloud. Okay. What does that do? It save it. Helpful. So this is where your services action starts. So this is where you can then start sharing it with people. So when I publish, it'll ask me which workspace I want to publish it to. I can say I want it to, not this one. Yeah. So I can publish it to the workspace that I like. At the same, and then I can do this online. Where is my workspace gone? I have got the workspace ready here. Yes. So these are different workspaces. If you are an individual user and you're using just one license, then you will only have my workspace. We work on a pro license. Any enterprise level conversation should at least work on a pro license, if not a premium license. And that you can then make different workspaces or different folders, as you would call in your normal Microsoft language, where you can publish your reports. Okay. And then what you can do is basically this one, I think, is your EBCL reports. There you go. I can share from here. So this is where my data sources are. You can see on the left, this is where my model is, and therefore this is where my report is. And from here, I can then start sharing. I can share it to, I don't know if I give it to Dishant, so I'm going to give it to Dishant. There you go. I can send it to him. So anybody within my basically domain name, I can share it to. So anybody within the business, I can share. If I want to share outside the business, I can as well. So maybe if you want to share something to your supplier or some dashboard report specifically for your customer, you can do that as well. That just needs a layer of security around it because obviously you're going outside your domain. So that is doable as well. Okay. How about cleaning data example where you get 10 different iterations? Oh God, yeah. Yes, so that is where the data. So when we went to Power Query, that is where basically you create. So for example, the customer name is ABC Limited Ltd. So ABC Ltd, ABC Limited, blah, blah, blah. I would say create basically a parent column in Power BI, which combines all of that into a single clean customer name, which is what, again, we have done for other people, other customers as well. Create a clean customer name column. So your source data places, like your typically there is this difference between names in invoicing system, CRM system, and ERP system. Okay, and within the CRM system as well, the same customer will have multiple names. Again, create a clean data column or dimension within your Power Query is what I would recommend. Okay, and then it is always going to be there. The point, Simon, is then it is always going to be there. Okay, and then you can create a report where you have a page of any customer with not clean data name. How do I add a clean data name to it? And you can add it also. Again, that's a different conversation. We can have that separately offline if you want. But there is, so it's easier to maintain. It keeps you on top of basically the fact that you've got basically different systems and different names around it. And then again, personally, what I like to also do is name and shame. I show that the same name in the CRM, same customers has got 4 versions or 5 versions, and I put it in front of the sales or the marketing director. And then you see how quickly it gets cleaned up. Because they're like, this is nonsense, this is rubbish. So then they get the guys to clean it up. Okay, because again, what gets measured gets managed. So again, yes, create a clean data name in Power BI, but then again, use it not only to automate the process, but also to clean and create better data practices. Okay. So now what we were seeing in desktop is now online. I can see now I'm not even using control. I can directly go between pages using buttons. Okay. There are dashboards like this, which we have built for customers, right? These are the sample dashboards of which I can't share customer data. Would be a bit of a problem. So, stuff like this, simple, one page dashboard starts. So map territory conversation that we were having, waterfalls, loads of different things. We have also, can you drive revenue to end expense through KPI? Of course you can. So I have got here. So sorry, what do you mean? What kind of a KPI are you looking for, Pratik? Can you clarify the KPI? Like gross margin and things like that? Yes, of course you can. The gross margin is definitely there. So you've got gross margin here. I can have gross margin percentage where your revenue and cost combine into gross margin. If you're thinking about a particular KPI, let me know. We can talk about it. This is one I wanted to show you. I think at least I discovered this very recently. One of my team came up and showed me this. This is your performance or scenario analysis. Can you see pricing? I can now scroll this. Pricing is up by 6% and demand, or say, for example, if I drop my pricing by 4%, my demand will go up by 5%. So 21.53 million will become 21.7 million. I'll get 200 or 170,000 extra. Is it worth doing it? This is live scenario planning, sitting as a business partner, sitting with your marketing team who's coming to you with, oh, we should drop price, we should do this, we should do that. Okay. You can't import, 1 second, who is this? Yeah, sorry. 1 second, I'm going to close this. Oh, sorry. Nivan, if you have this issue, can we get connect offline? I'm going to share you my calendar details at the end. Book some time. I will happily walk you through why your Excel is not working. And Pratik, to your question, can I calculate rent by multiplying rent with area with rate, for example? Yes, of course. This is what we are doing here. We are multiplying pricing with basically volume to create revenue. Essentially, what you're asking is exactly the same thing, right? So yes, you could make as many calculations just like Excel in Power BI. The only difference is that you can't write them as and where you feel like it. It's your first data tool. So you have to be a bit more disciplined. In Excel, I know I can go to any cell and write what I want. Okay. I have this problem with a client where they have got PO numbers and in which they have got commentary in the same column. They have got amounts in the same column. You're like, this is rubbish. This is just garbage. Okay. Data has to be organized correctly, which again, Power BI forces you to become more organized. Okay. But yes, you can definitely do calculations. So you see, as I move this, the numbers will keep dancing over. So white is basically the original number, and then the black is the number which as I'm changing numbers around, is basically dancing around. Right? So you can do modeling like that. Can you imagine sitting live with basically your marketing people and say, you know what you're saying is only going to give me 170,000 of more revenue. I don't want that. Don't worry about it. I don't want that kind of deal. Let's not drop the price, for example. Or yes, let's do it. That's what we want to do. Things like that. You can do it in close to real time. What else would I like to show you? This I showed you. This is the one I again want to show you. So this is like for your client name, top 5 countries where you're selling, top 5 products that you're selling, profit for the products, margin for the products, all of that. Again, prior year, look at, just play. It's literally a toy. We are putting in a new website. We are going to be putting a lot of these dashboards free on the website. I would say go and try and play with it, right? Because nothing better than that. I think this is a toy, to be honest. I personally just enjoy. So this is my top clients. I can look at the top clients here, my mid-range clients, my less profitable clients. I can go back to my previous page and say, okay, what is this group doing? I don't know these groups. What is this group doing versus that group? Where am I making? Okay, this group is in which countries? What's the products they are buying? What's the margin that they have? It's just there. And this refreshes on its own from your source system. Like every 3 hours is normally what I tend to implement in terms of a pro license. If you have a premium license, you can do even more. You can do 48, which is like every 30 minutes. Right. You can do by segment. So like segments are top profit businesses where I'm making the most amount of money, my medium-sized businesses, my businesses where I'm not making, clients where I'm not making a lot of money. It's all there. These are all questions which all the finance people get asked by marketing and sales people. It's not like I'm telling you something which you don't get asked for in your day-to-day job. You most likely have got asked these questions, right? Every time then you do a cohort, you prepare the work, you send them that, and then in 3 months they come back to you, I want this again. And then you are like, oh my God. Sorry, what was the question? And then you're like, okay, I have to do all the work again. No, you don't. You pulled a PowerBI dashboard around it, and it happened automatically. Are all these tags based on measures you have created? Yes, they're all based on measures that we have created. So again, they can be adjusted. What is top? How do you define top? How do you define medium? How do you define low? That can be changed. And it will apply to your history, to your future, to all reporting. And again, the benefit is it is not in Excel. So not like somebody will open your old Excel book and say, okay, we saw this, your top client is this or that or that. No, if the definition changes, it's changed on the dashboard across the company for everybody. And therefore there is consistency, which is again one of the pieces which I love. Whereas constantly otherwise you get a nightmare, right? Of basically inconsistency reporting across the business. So does that kind of at least help you get some amount of magic around this? Got to leave? Yes, sure, Ramesh. Okay. So I'm going to go back to my PowerPoint because I need to go through my last few slides. We've gone through all of this. Okay. This is a very cool tool. Yes, definitely a very cool tool. Question. Sorry, Paul. So this is where we then implemented basically Power BI. We spoke to people across Australia, UK, and stuff like that. What we got is one of the best comments I've got, one of the best comments from my clients ever is, they just now I have time to write commentary because I was spending 7 to 10 days just making the board deck. I had no time to write commentary. But because of what we did with Power BI and Excel, basically they got time back to write commentary in real life, value add commentary and insights, which is what the whole purpose of this activity was. They found missing invoices because the invoice process was a bit inconsistent, projects which were basically completed, not completed, and things. Is it primarily for larger businesses? No. The smallest business where I implemented this was 13 million turnover. Okay. That is the smallest I have implemented. It can be implemented for a 1 million business as well because the cost is £7.50. I mean, honestly, £7.50 is more is like 2 coffees in a month. So it's really, really cheap. Profitability of customer accounts and things like that. So obviously, Paul is on the call today, and he was kind enough to give me a big, long, positive review on basically LinkedIn that he's very happy with what we have done for them. Okay, I don't have Oracle. My data set comes from accounting software, coin construction. Can I still use Power BI? Yes, you can. As I said at the start, Jagdish, basically, if you want Power BI, if it doesn't have a direct connector, you can use a SQL server or stuff like that, even a CSV file. I'm not recommending it, but then every month you have to export a CSV file and upload into Power BI. It's a slightly manual process, but yes, you can still use it. Uh, so yes, Power BI works. And Paul has made his presence here today as well for the fact that he really enjoys the Power BI work that we have done with him. I have gone through this. Can you do projections, for example, rolling forecast? Yes, you can. If it is a run rate model, then yes, you can. Power BI is not strictly a budgeting tool. So yeah, it will be much more of a linear run rate. But yes, you can in theory. Can I use the free version for small businesses, example 2, 3 million per annum? Yes, of course you can. So you basically take a version, free version, you download it, but then you can't share it with other people in the business. Only you can play with it. So that's the problem statement. But yes, you can definitely play with it. Razia, that's for you. Uh, I am going to be doing another webinar where we will go through much more of measures, which I think somebody asked me previously that is this running of measures we created? Yes. So Dharam asked me if this was running of calculated measures. Yes. And I will talk much more about the calculated measures in my next webinar on the 18th. We will then make some visualizations together. I would like to talk about row level security on that meeting as well, simply because security is very important. Payroll files or payroll data shouldn't go anywhere, for example, or your customer data should not be shared between, say, Australia and UK. All those kind of security you can put in. I'll also talk about Power BI and Excel. Okay, this is one thing which I know a lot of people love, right? Because people love Excel. And then Power BI services will cover a bit more in detail in our next webinar. Okay, so I have covered with you the kind of work we have done for people. We we have showed you some dashboards which you can have. Refresh can happen automatically. There's a lot of stuff that can happen. You still have questions, please fire away. I am happy to stay behind. I am not in a rush. I have nothing after this. So please fire away and ask away your questions. Unmute yourself and ask or type away, whichever works for you. And otherwise, this is my LinkedIn, my Calendly, and my website. Get in touch. I will have a one-to-one discussion with you very happily. Can you recommend key measures we should you go away and learn in the meantime before the 18th? No, in fact, attend the 18th. I will show you 5 measures which I will teach you. You will learn on the day. Okay, which you can then expand upon as you grow your knowledge about Power BI. So again, we are not just a consulting company, which means that we just want to implement for you. We will teach you as well. We share knowledge as well. We are not just to consult and take money. It is about sharing knowledge and it's about creating self-dependency for yourself. So definitely, this is what I'm teaching you for free. I'll teach you more on 18th. Can you imagine if I was working as a consultant for you, how much I would teach you? Free, because that's what I believe in sharing knowledge. Is there any write back capability? Yes, there is. So yes, there is. There is 2 paid apps that you have to buy. They're like £3 a month. But for that, you can write commentary into Power BI. So yes, there is. And if you want to start making forecast in Power BI as well, there are tools which we are working with on that as well. So even that can be discussed, Tommy, if you want. Knowledge of M language is required, Manoj. No, knowledge of M language is not compulsory. Obviously, the more knowledge you have is the more power you have, but it is not compulsory. The Power Query does it on its own. You use Tableau. Oh, I sympathize with you, Antoine, because I have, like, Xerox has basically a team using Power BI and a team. So I have implemented Power BI for them, and they have a team using Tableau. And Power BI gets refreshed like at least 3 times faster than the Tableau version that they have. And my global FP&A director to be like, why are they using Tableau? I'm like, I don't know. You tell me. So yeah. Thank you, Naina. I appreciate. I'm happy you guys found value. Any more questions? Happy, very happy to walk you through this. Sorry, it's a little bit rushed. I mean, there's only that much. This used to be a part of our 3-hour free training we used to provide. We used to do this for 3 hours. Any more questions? Anything else that people would like to talk about? Connect with me on LinkedIn. Otherwise, my calendar is right there. Please, add me add me if you any chance we can go through the error message after the call. Sure, Nivan, why don't you, if you're on my LinkedIn, message me on LinkedIn and we can talk. Okay, and I will share the recording, Razia. So yes, you can digest it, play around. I'd say that it is better what Nivan has done. Download it. Even if you make an error and you get an error, it's not a problem. Yes, we offer group training. If I have a group of more than 5 people, I can offer training as well. We can go. If I do a training session, it will be 12 hours for over 3 days, 4 hours each day. That's what I've done in the past with Toyota. That over 3 days, but it is not just Power BI, it is about data analytics, right? So it's about how to use Power BI to do data analytics. So yes, I can offer a group training, but I need at least 5 people on the training, and you have to commit for 12 hours plus commit to do homework. I'm very bad that way. I give homework and I check homework. So, yes, definitely, because that's the only way you will learn. Otherwise, you will not learn. Any more questions? Very, very happy. This was really, really interactive, man. Lots of questions. I like it. Any more for any more? No? I'll wait around for a couple of minutes. Is there any site where we can get some project practice for RBI financial modeling? Yes, Pratik, there is lots. Go to YouTube and literally search Power BI training. You will get zillions of it. Okay, you will get lots of basically even Excel books to download. What is the fee for the training, Manoj? That we can talk offline. This is not me doing any commercial pitch, so I'm not looking to do any commercial pitches over here. So I'm going to refrain from that. Any more for any more? Wow. Okay. I'm still around. Anybody thinks of a question? I'm still here. Paul, are you still there? Paul Rochester is there? He's left. He's left. He's there. So financial modeling only for PNL, or we can make. Oh, you can make balance sheet. You can make cash flow. You can make basically. So if you even go to my current LinkedIn profile, it is there already. My balance sheet is there. So you should look. So if you go to my current LinkedIn profile, I'll show you. I'm really surprised people don't know I have it on my LinkedIn profile, which is very, I think, a mistake on my part. I don't know how I can't drive people's attention to it. So if you go to my profile, if you go to basically, if you go to my basically featured section, the second item, there you go. The second item is income statement, balance sheet, cash flow. This is a free Power BI training. This is free Power BI basically dashboard. So when you click on it, it takes you to a Power BI dashboard. It's got P&L, balance sheet, cash flow, all three of them, Pratik. You can do project management. You can do so many things on it. Where you go? Sorry, Tim is asking what? Can you do Power BI to check 3 statements are aligned? For example, validation check. Of course, yes. So you can put in booleans, true or false. You can do conditional formatting. Are numbers adding up? So not only can you check that, but you can also do it at different levels, right? I would always do it at the account level because I'm still an accountant at heart. So at account level and at cost center level of which accounts and cost centers are not adding up correctly. So yes, you can definitely put in validation checks. And Pratik, this is your answer. It's there on my profile. Go and look. Play with it. There is a year on the top. Age data are there, so you can even look at age data. So again, this is something I did for one of our clients where she had an age data report issue where she was doing that manually twice a day, 3 times a day. She was fed up. She was like, "What the hell am I doing this?" We connected Dynamics, their business central in Microsoft Dynamics to Power BI. We made this for them. She would write comments in business in Dynamics. It would come into Power BI. It is happening automatically every 3 hours. So instead of her doing it twice a day, she's coming automatically. She's getting 4 refreshes, 5 refreshes. Yes, Power BI same like Excel. All three statements link to each other. Yes, and therefore it starts from a trial balance. No? I mean, come on. You know, I know that, right? Balance sheet, P&L balance sheet, cash flow all starts from a trial balance. And your books are closed, you get a trial balance. You put in the balance sheet, you put in the P&L, and cash flow is basically this is the indirect cash flow. So indirect cash flow works basically as a balancing number around it. If you want a direct cash flow, so you're investing operational activity, investment activity, your financing activity, this is your indirect cash flow. The direct cash flow is a bit more tricky. So that's a different concept. But yeah, indirect cash flow right there. It will check the movement of cash between this and that, and then give you the difference, and this and that, and give you the difference. Exactly like Excel. Not different at all. Just more automated, more faster, and obviously looks more pretty. And you can share with people. So now people even start talking about Python and they say, oh, but now Excel also has got good graphs. Yes, it does. But you can't share with people. Try opening the same Excel book, 4 of you, and then see what happens. This you could all be on this website right now. I wouldn't even know. Our performance will not change at all. And it is there. It is on my LinkedIn profile. Please use it. Please try, play with it. PL for actual and same will happen for forecast. Yeah. So again, now again, let me be very clear, Pratik. Forecast you cannot build in Power BI unless you are using Power On or something as a forecasting tool within Power BI. That's a whole different conversation. But if I'm bringing it from Anaplan or from Vena or for something like that into basically Power BI, then my forecast trial balance also is created in basically that tool, right? And therefore, Power BI is a visualization tool. It's not a forecasting tool unless you bring in Power On or something like that. And therefore, again, in my presentation, I did show and share. I'm going to bring this now over here. Yeah, this where I shared that therefore, this slide is important. Get all your data in the data lake. Do your forecasting in your EPM CPM tool. Whether it is Vena, whether it is Anaplan, whether it is Profix, whether it is corporate planning, whether it is BizView, it could be lots of tools are out there. Again, we can help you navigate through that because obviously we have experience with them. So depending on the size and the complexity of the business, you choose the right tool. But do budgeting or forecasting in a proper tool is what I would recommend. Anything, if your business is more than like 20, 30 million, then that is what you should do. If you're less than 20 million, then yes, maybe a Power On or something like that is easy. It's more efficient. But otherwise, basically do a proper tool. Some of them are cheap, they're subscription based, they're SaaS, not costly. And then bring it into BR. And that's your data flow. All these arrows represent for me data flow, of where data is generated and where it flows. Any more? Definitely, Praveen. Anytime, mate. You have my number. You can call me when you want.
Thank you so much. I'll catch up later.
Catch up later, mate. Anybody else for any more? Thank you, Lee. Thank you for making the time. If you want any, I have obviously spoken to you guys before. If you want any conversation separately, we can have a one-to-one. You've got my calendar. Any more for any more questions? Or are we all good? I really like the playing with the product pricing impact and sales. I would be interested in seeing. Thank you so much. Thank you, Bijal. Okay. Then in that case, thank you very much, everybody. I am now going to close this call. If anybody has any more, I have said, and I will say it again, please get in touch on LinkedIn, on Calendly, on the website. Get in touch. I am genuinely open to open conversations. So please get in touch and let me know if I can help. Thank you.